Hi, girls. Welcome back to Pink Podcast. For today's episode, we're going to talk about how to ditch your birth control, throw it out, don't take that into 2026. Okay? And we're going to learn how to track our cycles the old way, the natural way, the way we're supposed to, which is just paying attention to our bodies, paying attention to all the signs and all the things that change throughout the month and keeping track of when we're ovulating, when we're PMSing, when we're going to get our period, etc. A lot of us women take birth control either to mask symptoms of something that you're dealing with. Maybe it's acne, maybe it's PCOS, maybe it's endometriosis, maybe it's just you have really hard periods. Any reason that we go into the doctor's office for as a woman, they're going to mention, you want to get on birth control? You can literally go in there and say, I have a cough, I have migraines. And they're gonna be like, birth control can help. And we get pushed this idea of birth control all the time, even if you're not just using it for or as a contraceptive. Obviously, that is a major reason why a lot of women choose to get on birth control. And regardless of any of these reasons, we shouldn't be on birth control. There's no reason that you need to take a pill forever and ever and ever in order to avoid getting pregnant the one time a month that your egg is actually even fertile for. If you didn't know, you're not ovulating all month. You can't get pregnant all month. The real ovulation window is only like 12 to 24 hours. And that's when the egg is like fertile to receive, a little sperm BFF. And so apart from that, the egg is closed for business. She only opens up one time a month. Now, there is a fertile window, and we will talk more in depth about everything on this episode. Now, before we get into the episode, I want to encourage you to read the book Period Power. This is a book that I read when I wanted to learn and master my period and my cycle. That book goes into so much more depth, of course, than what I'm going to go into in this episode. It goes into how your hormones actually fluctuate throughout the month, when your testosterone is peaking and your estrogen is dropping, and it literally explains everything to the max. If you really, really want to know all that there is to know about this, I recommend for you to read that book. I can't recommend it enough. This episode, I am just going to focus on how to understand your cycle, how to understand each phase of your cycle that you're in so that you can master it, so that you know when you're ovulating, so that you can get pregnant if you want to get pregnant, or not get pregnant if you don't want to get pregnant, so that you know when you're going to be at your best and your most confident, so that you know when you're not going to be feeling the best. All this you're going to be doing by learning and following and tracking all of your symptoms like your mood swings, your cervical fluid, the position of your cervix, and even by tracking your body temperature. And so it's a whole journey. We're going to talk about all things tracking your cycle, understanding your cycle. And by the end of the episode, you should have all the tools that you need to go and master your own cycle, to understand what part of the month you're in, and to just know yourself as a woman. So, first things first, we're going to talk about how to get off birth control if you are on birth control. Now, if you're not on birth control and you just actually want to master your cycle as is, and you just want to know more about what phase you're in and how to know when you're ovulating and all that good stuff, I'm going to put a timestamp right here so you can skip ahead since you're not getting off birth control. Now, if you are getting off birth control, first things first, get off birth control. Obviously, there's mainly two reasons why you're on birth control. It's either you're on it as a contraceptive, or you're on it because you have other symptoms that you went to the doctor for and they offered you birth control. Because obviously, as a woman, you go into the doctor's office for a sore throat and they say, you want birth control? I'm sure it'll help with that. And so it doesn't even matter what we have wrong with us, they're going to offer us that. And I feel like at some point or another, most of us have been on, or probably are on, birth control. And so you're going to have to get off. Getting off, it's its own transition. Obviously, the longer you've been on it, the more this transition is going to take some time, because being on birth control, whatever type of birth control it is, it does affect your hormones and it does affect the way that your body is going through its cycle. It's not in its natural cycle. And so this means you have to allow it time to fall back into its natural rhythm. During this time, you might feel crazy. Your body might be getting periods randomly or not at all. Or it's just going to be a little bit wonky. It's going to be a little bit out of sync because it's been out of sync for months and now it's trying to regulate. So you do have to go into it knowing that there is going to be a period where you have to allow things to be weird before they get better. It's kind of like when you go to organize or deep clean anything, it gets worse before it gets clean. And so you have to go into it with that same expectation and grace for it, and know that it's going to take a little bit of time for things to regulate, but that's okay because they will regulate. Now, also, if you did get on birth control for other symptoms that you were having, other problems in your life, that then you got offered birth control as a way to deal with these issues, this would be a great time to understand what actually is the cause of whatever problems you have and try to fix them at the root, at the base, like not trying to mask their symptoms. Because the idea of taking birth control to deal with your body not being perfect or things going wrong is kind of like taking your car to the mechanic because the engine is making a sound. And instead of fixing the engine, you actually just get a really loud radio so that you could blast music and not hear what's wrong with your car. And so that's what we're doing with birth control. You're not actually fixing whatever problem you're having. Let's say you're on birth control pills because, or not pills, but birth control. Let's say you're on birth control because you have acne. This isn't actually helping whatever initially is creating this acne. It's just masking the symptoms. So when you get off birth control, you're going to have to learn to actually fix these issues and see what are the natural and holistic ways to address whatever was wrong in the first place. Now, if you have a boyfriend, if you're with a partner and you're not trying to get pregnant when you're getting off birth control, this is going to be a time that you guys are going to definitely have to create a plan. And this is between you and your man. I can't really help you in this department. It's going to be strange because at first you won't really know when you're ovulating because you're going to be so out of sync with everything. And so you really have to be careful at first until you know that you're back into a groove, and then you can really start studying your body and observing when you're in what phase. But until then, you have to obviously be really careful if you're not trying to get pregnant. Like I said, figure it out with your man and sit down and have a little chat, and then, continue on. But this is a time where you really have to be careful because, like I said, you're not going to be able to know really when you're ovulating or when you're not right at first because everything's a little bit out of whack. You know what I mean? So now that you're done with birth control, let's say you've been off of it for 2, 3 months and your body's back to normal, you feel like there's a rhythm, you know that your period comes every month now, and it's kind of regulated. The next step is becoming familiar with all of these signs. Let's start off with your mood. Your mood is one that is probably the easiest to track because I feel like obviously we're more hyper aware of how we're feeling day to day. We're like, today I have no energy, or today I'm feeling my best. Like I want to just do this and do that and do all these projects. And today I really want to get on top of my man and eat him up. Like you're going to see, and as a woman, you just know that throughout the month you have higher libido, you have more energy sometimes. Sometimes you just want to hide under the bed and just eat chocolates and not see anyone. And so paying attention to the natural enthusiasm and flows of your body is so extremely important. Now, with that being said, this does change if you're doing things like not getting enough sleep or not taking care of your body or drinking. If you're not taking care of your body, respecting it with what you're eating, your activity, etc., these things may not be as obvious, your signs and your symptoms, and this goes for all of them. And so it's extremely important that you take care of your body the right way so that you can notice its natural rhythms and flows rather than you noticing something that's awkward, or like you're like, this makes no sense. I get my period 2 times a month sometimes and there's no straight schedule. Like, I don't get it. Well, that means that there's something wrong. So with all of the things I'm going to talk about, it's all contingent on the fact that you are living a healthy lifestyle and that your body is happy with you. Okay. So your mood is a huge one. Like there's times in the month where, like I said, I want to jump on top of my man and I love him so much and he's the sexiest thing ever. And then there's other times where I want to kill him. And so this is just what it's like to be a woman. Sometimes you just have high libido, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to reorganize your entire closet. Sometimes you don't even have enough energy to cook. And so tracking your moods, tracking your energy levels, tracking your libido, tracking if you want to kill your man or not, all these things are really important. Now, the same can be said for your cervical fluid. If you don't know what your cervical fluid is, it's basically just the juice of your vagina in that given time of the month. And yes, it does change. I didn't know this until I read the book. Well, I didn't know that it was on purpose. Like I knew sometimes it'd be a little bit different than other times, but I didn't know that it represented a different time of the month. But it does actually represent a different time. And when you're ovulating, you'll notice that it's super watery and like soft, and it's not like the other times of the month. The other times of the month it can be like sticky, it could be actually more of like a little lotiony. It changes, but during ovulation, it's when it's the best. It's ooey gooey. Okay. And this is easy to track if you have a man because they can tell you what it's like in there, especially if they're aware and not, a dum dum. Like, I hope your man is smart enough to be able to tell you the difference of your cervical fluid. And so that's one way to tell. If you don't have a man and you still want to know, or if you can't rely on your man, maybe he's a dum dum, then check in there yourself, girl. Go in there, investigate, take a little tour, see what's up, fill it out, compare it, take some notes. So get real comfortable with your cervical fluid. Sometimes you could tell on your actual underwear, but if you really want to know, just get up in there and check. Same thing goes for the position of your cervix. Now, when you're ovulating, your cervix, it's going to allow your man to be deeper than ever before. That's really the short way around this. And when you're not ovulating, she don't want nobody in there. And sex can feel a little bit different, and it's maybe a little bit more painful than when you're ovulating, or your man doesn't fit all the way. And so if you've noticed this before, this is a great one to keep track of, because that also is a great indicator. You'll notice that when you are about to be ovulating, girl, somehow you can fit, you could fit, you can, I don't know how to say this in a feminine way. When you're about to ovulate, you can have your man over for Thanksgiving dinner. There's a lot going on in there. A lot can fit, big stomach, big hunger. And when you're not ovulating, she's on a diet. She's feeling like Bella Hadid. Like, she could have a little Oreo and be done for the day. If you get what I'm getting at. Okay, I'm trying to find a way to say this classy and ladylike to the best of my abilities. So, is she Bella Hadid, or is she giving my 600-pound life? How much can she fit in there? You know what I mean? I think there's other ways to track it too, apart from how much of your man is invited in there. And you can look that up. I actually don't remember I think you could probably just finger yourself. I think you could actually probably just finger some stuff. Figure it out like that. I don't remember, because I can just tell by how much the appetite is. Girl, let's move on, because my mom watches this and you get what I'm trying to get at. But your cervical position, the position of your cervix, is another great one to tell you what part of your cycle you're in, okay? Now, last but certainly not least, is tracking your body temperature. And this one, like I said, I hadn't done up until a couple months ago, and I can't believe I haven't done it this entire time. It really confirms everything we just talked about, and it confirms when you have ovulation, because the way that tracking your temperature will go is you're gonna wake up every day, and on the dot you're gonna take your body temperature. Now, you need one of the thermometers that's a little bit more sensitive, as in it picks up more temperature than the average ones. I guess that's how I can explain it. It's a little bit more exact, and so you need one of those, because you need to know up into the slightest degree of changes. And you'll notice that after ovulation, it peaks, sometimes 0.5, sometimes a whole degree, and it kind of climbs up and stays going up a little bit and stays higher than the rest of your month around your period. And then it dips right before ovulation and around ovulation, and then it peaks back up. And so when you're tracking it, you can literally know when you ovulated, because when it peaks the next day, when it peaks from let's say for me, it's usually around my ovulation days, 97.20 something, 97.10 sometimes. And then right the day after ovulation, the day that it confirms that I ovulated, it'll be 97.70, 97.90. You know what I'm saying? It'll peak. It'll be higher than it was. And so that confirms that it happened. Not that it's happening, but that confirms that it happened. It's telling you the past. It said, girl, you did it. And so I feel like it's confirmed everything that I knew, especially because I always assumed that I ovulated halfway throughout my cycle. I have a pretty standard 28, 29-day cycle, and I always felt like I ovulated on day like 14. And through tracking my temperature, I confirmed I was correct this whole time. But there was no way for me to actually know because, like I said, ovulation isn't a couple days. Like, obviously, there is this window that you have to be careful for, but actual ovulation is only 1 day. And so now I know exactly what day that is. Now, the reason why it's called an ovulation window and not a day is because of sperm. It's not because your egg can actually be fertilized all those days. It's because sperm, let's say you're going to ovulate on Friday, okay? And let's say your man left some children in you on Wednesday. Chances of that sperm surviving inside of you are very high, especially if he's healthy and you're healthy. That sperm can very much and will likely live up those 2 days and just wait for your ovary to be open for business. And so that's why you have to be careful, like that whole ovulation week. And for me, I have been tracking my period now for, I think, like 3 years. Actually, I don't remember right now exactly, but I think it's been like 3.5 years or something like that. 3 years. I can't remember exactly, but a couple years. And I've been successful at it. And the way that I've been successful is we're really careful around ovulation. And the rest of the month, you can have a party because you know that you're not ovulating. You know your body. And so this is the great thing about that is that then when you really, really know and you're both on the same page and you have your man understand all of this too. And this is for both of you to know, okay? This isn't just for you. This is for him to know as well. My man knows all this information. He'll go in there, he'll be like, hey, ovulation's coming up. I can feel it. He could give me feedback. He can go in there and be his own student and tell me everything that I need to know. Okay. He can file an entire report for me. And so that's how you need your man as well. He needs to be just as informed so that you both can be on the same page. And if you're not using protection and if you're not on birth control, then around your ovulation, you have to take extra precautionary measures depending on how your man is, depending on everything. You know what I'm trying to say. So do with that what you will. You have to have a different level of care and carefulness during ovulation because if you're not on birth control and if you're not going to be using protection, or maybe if you are because you're like, I can't risk it for the biscuit. So that's something to keep in mind. But it is such a liberating feeling to know when what is happening. So you're not just being careful all month for literally nothing. Now, during this stage, you are familiarizing yourself. Okay. You're going to be studying yourself for a couple months and you should be observing yourself forever after that. But you're definitely hyperly aware the first couple months because you're trying to learn your rhythms and your flows. Now I am at a point after so many years that I know, okay, I got my period last Wednesday. So, and this is actually a real fact, I got it last Wednesday. And so I can do the math and be like, okay, 4 Wednesdays from now is exactly when I'll have it again. And I know everything to the T. And so this doesn't happen overnight and you can't expect to know it all instantly, but this comes with tracking and paying attention and being hyperly aware. I remember when I first started doing this, I would track all of my moods, all of my, even my periods. I would track if it was a heavy flow that month or if I had a lot of pain or if I didn't. I would track how many days it lasted for. I used to track how many days I felt like I was ovulating for, depending on my cervical fluid and all that stuff. And I was diligent about tracking it all. And another thing is I track it the old school way. I track it on paper. I track it on a calendar. I'm not tracking it on an app. I don't believe in the apps. I hate the apps. I feel like all they do is sell your information to other parties. And I mean, this is known for a lot of apps. And yeah, there's some that don't sell your information, but ew. And wouldn't you want to be like old and show this to like your granddaughter and be like, look, this is how I used to like track my period, or show it to your daughter and be like, this is how you track your cycle, or even be able to reference it yourself years from now. These apps are just like such a lazy way of like doing it. And you know what? If that's what works for you, then that's what works for you. And don't let me shun you out of it. But personally, I like to track it the old school way. I like pen and paper and I like to just have control over my stuff. Okay. So, all that to say that during this stage, you're just being a student of your body, a student of everything that your body's reporting to you, every mood swing, every cervical fluid, every time that your man goes in there and you don't want him in there, all of that. You're going to take report of when you want to jump on your man. You need to know it all. You need to keep a mental note. You need to keep an actual note. And you need to be able to reference it and compare it month by month up until you are so in sync that you don't need to. I'm at the point where I only write down the first day of my period. I just write, okay, I got my period on this day. And I track my temperature every day. And I do keep that log so that I can compare. But apart from that, I don't track anything else. And I'm at a point with temperature where I can also stop writing it down if I wanted to. I just kind of keep it for reference so that my man can see it, so that I can see it. But, you know, it's after you do these things for so many months, you'll notice that, okay, I understand it now. I don't need to keep logging every single detail. Now I just understand myself. Okay. So that was the step of familiarizing yourself with your body and with everything that it shows you throughout the month. Now, when you're done familiarizing yourself and now you're at a place where you understand it, now you can start to plan around it. So, like I said, now you're at a point where you could be like, hey, babe, I'm going to be ovulating. And again, this is a wrong way to use the term because you really only ovulate one day. But let's say if you know it's on Friday. So, hey, babe, my ovulation window, the time that we have to be careful for, is going to be from Sunday to Friday. Okay. So, for this whole week, we're going to have to figure something else out. We can't do X, Y, and Z. You get what I'm saying? Now it's the time that you understand so you can plan around it. You can also plan around other stuff, even forget sex and forget getting pregnant. You can plan when you want to do a house project, when you want to go on vacation, when you want to maybe really watch a movie marathon. You're like, you know what? I'm going to save that for when I get my period. You can save and rearrange and plan and do things according to whatever part of your cycle you're going to be in. And the Period Power book refers to these parts of our period, these cycles, as seasons, which is such an easy way to remember it. So, winter being when you get your period, then spring when your body's in its follicular stage and it's getting ready to, be ovulating. Then summer is when you're ovulating, and then fall being when you're in your luteal phase where you're getting ready to get your period. That's when you're PMSing. Actually, my man calls it my Lucifer stage, a play on the little luteal part. And because he says that when I'm PMSing, I'm a demon, and that's really mean. But when you can understand the phases of your cycle and know when they're happening and know how intense they are, know how long they're for, because everybody's a little bit different, then you can plan your life around it. And you're like, you know what? I don't want to go on a vacay at the end of March because that's when I'm going to be on my period, or that's when I'm going to be PMSing. And you can just not only plan your sex life, but plan your whole life around your cycle. Plan everything so that way you're in sync with it and not against it. That way you can maximize each and every phase and be in tune with it. And actually, a follow-up video to this is going to be how to be in every season of your cycle, how to maximize each of those. But for today's episode, I just wanted to talk about how to familiarize yourself with your cycle, how to understand it, how to be in sync with it, because we can't talk about the rest of it if you don't know this first step. We can't talk about how to live in each part of your cycle and how to perfectly be aligned with it, and how you should be eating during each part of your cycle, how you should be working out, what the things and activities you should be avoiding or doing in that time, if you don't even know when those times are for you, or if you're on birth control, because then your body's not in its natural state. So, with that being said, now you've ditched your birth control, you've familiarized yourself with your own body, you're at a level of understanding it that now everything makes sense. You know when it's happening, you know what part of your cycle you're in. It's all easy now. And this is the part of mastery. Now you have mastered your period. Now you have mastered your cycle. Now you've mastered ovulation. Now you know everything about your body. You know exactly when, oh, I woke up today feeling a little different. I can tell I'm definitely done with ovulation. I can feel the shift into my luteal phase. You'll be so in tune. And so this is the master stage. And this is when then you can get into what we're going to do on the next episode, which is learning how to live in each part of your cycle and learning how to romanticize it and just be happy in each phase of it, because you're not trying to force things where they don't fit. You're not trying to paint or redo a whole room when you're in the middle of PMS. You're not trying to run a marathon or freaking lift weights right before you get your period because it's not what's best for you. This is a time when you're gonna learn how to do anything and everything in accordance to your period, to your cycle, to each phase that you're in. And after you fully understand your body and your cycle and everything that comes with that, and you're at that level of mastery, then you can really get into organizing your life by the phases of your cycle. And that'll be the next episode. Okay. So I love you girls so, so much. I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that this encouraged you to ditch your birth control if you're on it, because it's so horrible. And I could actually do a whole episode on the history of birth control, the nasty, dark history of that, because it actually could literally be an entire episode. It could be an entire series, a documentary, okay? And that'll be for a different time. But I hope that this encouraged you to abandon that, to actually fix any root issues that you do have, if that's why you got on birth control to begin with. I hope that this encouraged you to feel confident in knowing when you're going to be ovulating and learning your body, so that you don't have to take a pill or be on IUD or whatever every single day of your life in order to avoid getting pregnant the one time of the month when you're literally ovulating. Hello? So I hope you took something from this episode. And like I said, if you really, really want everything that there is to know, then definitely get the book Period Power. I really cannot recommend it enough. And it's helped me so much. It's helped me to get to where I'm at, to where now I feel like I can even share this with you girls. So I love you all so much. I'll see you girls next week. And soon we're going to talk about how to master each phase, how to romanticize each and every single part of your cycle and not work against your own body. Okay, so I love you girls. I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.